Welcome back to Taiwan Now Look. Our guest today is Matt Hinson. He's the editor and translator at the GIO. Matt, we've been talking about your personal experience of doing the translation. How do you see the translation industry in Taiwan? Is it booming or is it in decline? Because there are also foreign competitors coming to Taiwan to serve as translator.
All right, like me, foreign competitor.
But you're also son of Taiwan. Yeah.
Well, translation industry in Taiwan. I would say it's a mature industry and very cutthroat. But I think that this has damaged the industry from my vantage point at the GIO, and also when I've taken private work. It's difficult to overstate the importance of quality and accuracy. Yeah. And it's also difficult to overstate how much the translation industry in Taiwan does not respect that. Because at the GIO, sometimes we'll be asked to edit pieces. People will come and say, oh, I have this piece and it's already been translated by this outside translation company, either the GIO or some other government agency. And they will bring it to us and they'll say, can you get this done for me in just, like 2 days or something? Because it's just an editing job. And we'll look at it and you have to start over. You have to start from ground zero because it's not accurate, facts are wrong. Because translation is not simply a computational exercise. Yeah. If it were, then you could feed it into a machine and it would come out perfect. But as we've discussed before, it's a cultural exercise. It's an exercise of experience. So what the translation industry, the things I've seen, fail to do is to respect that. So they will just take a piece of copy and what looks to be like a dictionary, and they will go through character by character and put down whatever the first entry is and call that English. It's not.
But apparently there are more and more professionals entering into the business, and we have chance of interviewing several high-quality interpreters in Taiwan. They do the simultaneous translation and so on. But in general, I think there's a great demand for high-quality, good-quality translations. And do you think that people know the difference between the high-quality translation and the average translation in Taiwan?
It's my fear that they don't. And I would like to say that, yes, there are some very good interpreters here, and there are some very good translators here. I know many personally.
Yeah. But the thing is, we do have some great demand for that kind of good translations. And especially Taiwan has been trying to promote the so-called conference industries. In other words, try to organize international conferences, hosted in Taiwan and so on. Do you think there will be more and more high-quality competitors from other countries to look for a job here and try to make it more competitive, which can also generate more high-quality translators locally?
Well, there's plenty of work if people are looking. As to high quality, low quality, I would welcome more high quality people into the industry because it would bring the industry up. It would also bring the price for a good translation up. And hopefully it would educate the public on what is good translation versus bad translation, because I feel like a lot of people just want it translated and they don't get any feedback from the person they present the translated document to, which means they have no way of knowing if it's a good or bad translation.
Yeah. And you've been in this business for some years, and for any young people who are interested in entering into this business, what would be your advice for them? How do they prepare themselves for taking a job like this?
Well, I think taking on a job like this, if you're confident in your language ability, again, both source and target language, and you have a love of learning and an unquenchable thirst to improve your language skills every day, then go for it. Just try it out. There's very few barriers to entry in the translation market at this point. Now, interpreting, I think, is different. But translation, give it a shot.
But in addition to language abilities, how about personalities? What kind of person or personalities do you think are most suitable for this kind of job? As you mentioned, it's very demanding, and it's also very, promising as well, learning process for some people.
I think the number one quality is probably patience.
Patience.
Patience with yourself in going through this learning process, making mistakes, being corrected. Because for your clients or your superiors, someone is always going to question what you've done. So you've got to know what you're talking about and be able to stand firm when necessary, but also have the humility to know when you're wrong and take it as a learning experience.
I think you must be through this kind of process, being corrected, being even criticized by your superiors and so on. Was that tough for you to adjust yourself to this kind of new personality?
In the beginning, but I think it's been good for me in taking down my pride a few notches. But yes, I've been corrected. I'm still corrected on an almost daily basis. There's always something that you're going to miss that someone else with a fresh pair of eyes will be able to point out. So it's not an easy thing to undergo, but after a while you develop a thicker skin and it stops bothering you.
Yeah. Your mother tongue is English, and you've been learning Chinese Mandarin, and you are also learning Taiwanese now as well. And what would be the advices that you give to our young people here, to learn a foreign language?
Well, if you have the opportunity, and you're already studying the language, or even if you haven't studied, go abroad, if that's a possibility. And engage with the people there, because that, as much as any classroom, is a learning experience. Beyond that, if study abroad is not possible, that's okay too. There's plenty of ways to study a foreign language on your own. The internet is a great resource. Newspapers, well, here there are English newspapers, and GIO publishes in Spanish, German, French, Russian. So I think just trying to engage yourself in it, trying to find a group of people interested in the same thing, that helps. Practicing with each other, or if you can find a person whose mother tongue is the language that you're looking to learn, engaging with them.
For you personally, what's the most difficult part in learning Mandarin, Chinese Mandarin?
Starting. The beginning points were pretty difficult because I went to a short-term class, and the teacher didn't teach stroke order or anything. He just presented the material, and then we went home and kind of halfway learned it on our own. So that was a challenge. The writing, especially, the writing still gives me.
How about memorizing all the Chinese characters and so on?
That's not that bad. That just takes time. That just takes a lot of time. Because it's strictly rote memory. It's a function of practice.
I know that now there's a China fever. In other words, all over the world there are more and more people studying Chinese and so on. Of course, the rise of China has to do with that. And apparently, people have been talking about whether they should learn simplified characters or the so-called more complex or conventional characters. What would be your take on that?
I started out learning simplified characters.
You did.
And so I came here, I was literate for 6 months. But I think that there is a real value in learning both. Yes, China is the main market. Yes, China has 1 billion people. But I think if you want to gain a real understanding of the language, you need to look at it in all its forms. Because anything written before, I don't know, 1960 is traditional characters.
That's right.
Now, maybe in business it won't matter so much. Maybe it will. The thing is, you never know what's around the corner. And it's pretty easy to learn both at the same time. My textbooks all had simplified and traditional forms, as well as peen. So I could learn them all at the same time. And that just gives you another tool in your bag for when you go out to the world.
But how about starting a reverse way? In other words, you started, for some people, they started by learning traditional characters and then they begin to learn simplified. Would that be easier for some people?
Their job is easier. Right. Their job is much easier. I think. I don't know. I didn't have that experience. But to me, looking at the traditional and looking at the simplified, if you've learned traditional first, which means you've also learned grammar, then just by looking at the simplified, 9 times out of 10, you can look at the character and deduce what it means. Whereas going the other way to the traditional, it's a pretty big leap.
That's right. Yeah. Now you're a son-in-law of Taiwan, and you've been living in Taiwan for some years. When we come back, we'll talk about your experience of coming to Taiwan and what's your view about Taiwan's culture and Taiwan's different aspects. Don't go away. We'll be right back momentarily.